Hello and welcome to Just Not Crick Pod with myself, Matthew, and not Jamie. Today is going to be a solo episode because Jamie is ill. I'm not sure if it's Ashes related. Welcome back. I'm going to be doing some self-reflection of the third Ashes test today, as it's just myself. Maybe this is therapy. Maybe this is going to be just me talking into the void and trying to understand why I like this game. Um, so yeah, just bear with me as I talk to myself. Um, so yeah, the Ashes is over. Done and dusted. 3-0. We're all off and finished. Lots to break up. It feels like a breakup, but lots to break down, lots to kind of discuss, lots to kind of just try and find the meaning of life for in this silly old sport. Um, yeah, it's 3-0 Australia inside 11 days. And having been a big cricket fan since, I think a lot of people in my generation of 2005. I've seen five losses down under now. Is this the worst? I don't know. I feel like this one had a lot riding on it, as we all know, with all the kind of Bazball nonsense. Um, but I do generally think that this Australia team is beatable. Stuart Broad's comments are going to be going through the roof at the moment, um, as this being the worst Australian side since 2010. I think in a way that's still kind of right. You've got to look at this series, they've not been at their full strength in any of the tests. Um, this is just me coping here as an England fan, so you're going to have to bear with me. Um, but you've got some great players, which we will talk about in a sec. Um, but because you've got some great players, but you're still holding some players who aren't the best. I think Josh Inglis could you know, be very much an England player. I think he's had quite a poor couple of test matches, with a few streaky runs, albeit some important runs. Cameron Green looks a bit kind of confused as to what he wants to be as a player or where he's at or where his game is at. Maybe that's him being, shuffled up and down the order a bit too much. Injury concerns with an aging attack, as we've seen in the series. We've not had a single test with, the great quartet, of Lyon, Cummins, Hazelwood, and Stark. Hazelwood's not going to feature in a series. Maybe that's one Cummins test for the series, and that's it. He's not going to play at the MCG. And Weatherall looks like he's got an issue around his front pad, but he's had a lot better than Duckett at the moment. So there are cracks in that Australian side which could have been exploited and haven't been because Australia are still much better than England. And Broad's comments of this is the worst Australia side since 2010, maybe, but they still win games. Is it England's best team since 2010? I think probably not. I think they've had stronger passages and kind of maybe eras where they're more together as a team. I think of kind of the back end of 2019 going into obviously the COVID year, but you had that really good win in South Africa where it felt like this was a settled team with a settled kind of ethos and mentality and a team that could potentially win in different conditions. Obviously, all fell apart under the kind of Silverwood regime. But you have a team here where they're changing their plans at the last minute. You put your eggs in the basket with someone like Shoaib Bashir for 18 months, and then when it comes to the crunch time, you don't trust him or go with it. Whether that's right or wrong, and whether he's the best spinner to go with, highly debatable. But the fact of the matter is, you've planned for this and you're not going for it, and I think that is quite an issue. You've obviously got an issue with the open, but I think the opening stand wasn't really something to look into before this series. But the bowling, I think I might have said it before in the last one. There's no bowling partnerships in this team. England strived off many years of having Broad and Anderson bowling really well as a duo and putting pressure on the batters, and then other bowlers could come in and do really well. And don't have that. None of this team or none of these bowlers before this series had played with each other as a bowling attack. And that's an issue. And compare it to Australia, you've got, even when you're missing people like Cummins and Lyon and Hazelwood, you've still got people like Stark, Lyon in this game and Perth briefly. Cummins again in this game. Boland's played in every game. These are bowlers of experience and have played with each other. England didn't have that at all. So yeah, it's if we're looking at Broad's comments as the kind of, I don't know, the headline, I would say I don't I don't know. Australia are a good side and they deserve to win, but I think they were beatable, and I think a better England team could have seized some of the moments that we keep on hearing about. Um, you look at Perth. England were 90 ahead with 9 wickets in hand. If they get 250 to 300, I think it's a completely different game. Head nicks off in that first over from Archer where he plays and misses. You know, I think you could very well be looking at a different scenario considering you have Khawaja who couldn't bat in that game and quite a long tail. Um, I think England had moments in Brisbane as well, although I think that is their worst test of the tour. But if you want to hear about the Brisbane stuff, that's in the last episode. But there was definitely moments where England could have forced away in the game if they had been better or more consistent. And then we get to Adelaide, which we're going to be reacting to, or I'm going to be reacting to by myself, um, where I think England played their best cricket of the tour, but I still don't think it was particularly great. They stayed in the game as best they could. So we'll quickly talk about it. Before the game, Stokes said he wanted more dog from this England side. I think he got puppy. He got a team that looked promising at points, but the next second they're going to be chewing up the sofa and then nicking the ball to first slip, or throwing their wicket away, rather than listening to the commands. So I think he half got it. I think there was some much better play from England, but I think we'll talk about Australia first. Because I don't want to like downplay Australia's efforts by saying, oh, they're still picking someone like Inglis and Green, who aren't great at the moment. Um, but they play really well. So you've got to look at them being excellent and relentless when it matters, and that's the key where England fall down every time. So in this game, you've got great performances, obviously from Travis Head, great performances. I mean, exceptional performances, should I say, from Alex Carey, 106, 72, and 6 catches in the game. Should have been less runs in the first innings potentially. Maybe we'll talk about that. You've got Stark, who didn't have as good a game as Perth and Brisbane, but was completely consistent and got wickets when it mattered, especially in the final innings. Lyon, you know, is he maybe the best off spinner that's played the game? Statistically, probably that's correct. Um, he's obviously out injured probably for the rest of the series now, and that's obviously been quite a brief stint for him in the game, but he was so impactful. I think how many wickets to get across the game, sure we remind ourselves. Two in the first innings, but only going at 2.5 and 0, which is perfect for an off spinner. And then in the second innings, where he did go off injured, he got the three crucial wickets at the end of day 4, which completely threw the game wide open. I think if he doesn't get that spell, England, who end up only losing by the game by about 80, probably get a lot closer. I'm not saying they definitely win, but to lose, but him to get Brook with a Questel shot, we'll talk about. But a great ball to Stokes, and a really good ball to Crawley. I know Crawley makes it look like he's done a poor shot, but I feel like the flight and the guile, drawing that drive, getting him to finally miss. That's the first one I think Crawley missed all game, and but that wily old kind of classic off spinner delivery of flight and spin outside or something, drawing them out. He's just such a good bowler comparatively to what England served up with spin. And I think he's undoubtedly one of the best. I think it would be a shame if again he misses the rest of this Ashes series, this Ashes series, like how he missed the 2023 one, because he's a fierce competitor, and I love seeing him bowl. But crucial in this game, even if he wasn't the leading wicket taker. Cummins, England get a lot of flack and talk about players coming back off not playing any cricket. But Cummins just came in as the world beater he is, 3 wickets in both innings, and looked like he'd been playing every game. Just picked off where he was from immediately. That's not a sentence. So just picked up where he left off. It's only Jamie to say you're an idiot. Um, but 3 wickets in each innings and just incredibly consistent and just annoyingly good, you know. And then the kind of bowler that England are striving for at the moment. And we'll talk about Archer in a sec, but who is I think England's best bowler. But Australia's just so good. They're just consistent. They're relentless. They know their lines and lengths. They just hit them consistently. They draw England into their false shots and poor shots. Setting up someone like Root in the first innings by pushing him back and then pitching it up. It's classic cricket which kind of England feel a bit averse to playing sometimes. Well, sometimes all the time. Well, they try to in this game. Oh, this is a real ramble monologue, isn't it? But no, they're good. I think Boland as well is brilliant. Consistently on in Australian conditions, just completely just hits the same line of length that you need. Doesn't really go for many. England can't get him away in this series, especially with Carey up at the stumps. He's great. I mean, Carey as well. We spoke about Carey in the last game, but he's having a phenomenal series. He's a phenomenal keeper, probably the best keeper in the world. A very emotional 100 in that first innings, and then a crucial 60. I think it's about 60 in the second innings. 72. Sorry, Alex knocked off 12 runs for you. Um, yeah, I mean, we can talk about the whole Snicko drama until the cows come home. You know, should have been out on 72, 76, and then maybe the game looks completely different. That's 34 more runs that Kerry got. I don't know. This is not me being too whiny, Pom, but I don't really understand why, when it's such a blatant error, and I'd say this to both sides, regardless, when it's such a blatant umpiring error, when there is DRS, it's not like, say, for example, Stuart Broad not walking, because Australia had used all their reviews, and then if they reviewed it, it would have been out. In this game, England reviewed it, Kerry should have been out. And that was a clear problem with the technology. And then there was issues obviously in the Australia first innings as well, where Jamie Smith absolutely punched one to first slip, and the umpires said that he hadn't hit it, which was just complete nonsense. But when I think there is such a blatant umpiring error, it's all well and good. I'll have your review back, but that's 34 runs in an Ashes Test, which is crucial. And then he puts on, I think, 76. Is it with Stark? It might have been someone else at that point. Might have been English, but whoever he batted with was that 76 runs, which is crucial in the game when England lose by 80. This is me being very copy whiny. Bear with me. But at the very least, should there not be some kind of sundries extras of 34 runs to be like, well, here you go. These are runs that shouldn't have gone towards total, so you come back. I guess that's me really grasping at complete straws, but it doesn't feel like enough to say you reviewed it, you were right to review it, you should have had this wicket. Oh, never mind, just have your review back. Doesn't matter. Not doesn't matter that you got more runs. Don't know. Maybe I'm coping. But I'm not too bothered. It's technology. There's always issues. Unless you go back to just umpires call is final. We're just going to be here forever and ever. I mean, Ultra Edge is obviously the more consistent, better bit of technology. I'm not really sure why Snicko was used. I think Stark has said why the ICC doesn't pay for it, which is, I think, a fair comment. Why is it down to the broadcasters? It's feels a bit ridiculous how you have the Big Bash use Ultra Edge, and then you have the Ashes use Snicko, which is fundamentally worse. But yeah, I don't know what else I need to say about Australia. Just they're just very good, very consistent, know how to win. They are relentless. They know exactly what they're doing. Travis Head is, I think, one of the best batters in the world. I know he had a lean patch coming into this series, but I feel as though as a bowler, he's the one batter you don't want to bowl against because he just finds ways. He's aggressive at doing it as well. I think before this series, it was one of my concerns about him coming in at five because even if we got Australia down, even if England got Australia down to like four for seventh, 3 for 70, Head coming in, I just feel every time he's going to score at least 70 at a runner ball and it's completely shift the momentum. Now he's opening the batting, getting 170 in the second innings, and just completely, you know, derails the game even further for England. So it's just a very good side with some very good players. But I do feel like, I don't know if carrying is the right word, but, someone like Josh Inglis and Cameron Green, I think Stephen Smith should come into the next game, backing him obviously if he's fit and ready to go. And I feel like it probably would be Josh Inglis. I just look at the way he plays. It feels quite England at times. I think he is English, but it's very flashy. There's a lot of edges. It feels very one day cricket. Marnus has kind of gone back into his shell a bit. He was quite expansive at Brisbane, but now he's kind of gone back into, especially in that second innings where he's not playing in the kind of way that was expected from the Sheffield Shield. And looking at kind of 23 Ashes, where in that final game at the Oval, I think he was 70 balls for not many. And you don't want that from number three because he's not putting any pressure back on. He's kind of going nowhere and eventually just nicks off. So I think you'd hope Marnus, as an Australian fan, has a stronger end to the series, and I feel you'd worry he starts to fall into those same habits. Kawaja was a surprise pick for this game, obviously last minute and played really, really well. 70 and 40. I think someone like Jake Weatherald, although the promise he has with a good 70 at Brisbane, he does obviously have issues around that front pad with his kind of crouched stance. You know, Archer's got him three times. One was a short ball, but he was out to Carty and LBW this game. But when he comes off, I think he's a very good player. And I think he will consistently be better after years of domestic cricket. But yeah, they'll give him the end of the series and take stock from there, I'd imagine. But yeah, let's finish talking about Australia because what we're all here for is the meltdown and the vulture circling of English cricket. So losing the Ashes in 11 days, yeah, it's not good. It's is it the worst away Ashes I've watched? So there's been some drubbins. There's been some absolutely horrendous games, but at the same time, I feel like in some of those series, we've been blown away by incredible cricketers. So that Mitchell Johnson series in 13, 14, you know, bowling at stupid pace, just complete, you know, incredible bowling to watch. You know, 06, 07, you've got the final series of McGrath and Warne, you've got some absolute greats at home and an England side who are patchy at best. 17, 18 for England, you know, no Stokes in that tour. And an England side that had very quickly botched together a top order at the end of their English summer by quickly playing people like Milan and Stoneman, Vince. I think Vince might have come in for that series, if I remember rightly. But yes, no Stokes and just an all-round poor series. But yeah, and then when do we have the COVID series, 21, 22? No, what I'm talking about. It's 20, yeah, 21, 22. Which obviously we avoid. But this series, I think this one is the most disappointing due to the fact I feel as though, like I said earlier, Australia were there for the taking. If England had played well, and spoiler, they didn't. So for this game, as an example, I think this is England's best so far. I think they stayed in the game pretty much right until the last day, and I think there was some real. Is positive's the right word? I'm kind of grasping at those. Um, But I think there were some performances that England should be happy with in a small little sense. You know, Archer got 5 wickets, um, Stokes 83, Jofra 51 when he put 100 in that first innings. I thought the way they came back on that day four morning to get, what was it, 6 for 34 or something, was really getting them into the game. And I thought they batted much better at the beginning of that second innings. Crawley, especially 85, played, you know, probably as good as I've seen him. Who else we have? Probably the way that Jamie Smith batted is a positive, I guess. Um, but there's loads of caveats to all of this, isn't there? Because you say Jamie Smith batted well, but then he played that shot to get out to, which I'll come to, I guess. But so I guess you can grasp those positives. I thought Josh Tongue bowled really well. I know his figures aren't, you know, Cummins level or anything like that, or Stark level, but I think with Josh Tongue, you've really got a bowler there who's someone for the future. Absolutely. And if you're looking at post-mortem Ashes, I think he's definitely someone you have to be looking at building a team around. Cause issues to the best players in this game. You know, like we said, should have had Carey out on 70 odd, and that would have blown the game wide open. I think it was 6 wickets in the game. Like we said, so it should have been seven. Caused problems for Marnus and was kind of the catalyst for that collapse on the day four morning. So yeah, Josh Tongue great. Joffrey's bowled really well. Obviously, I think his batting probably took out of him with his 51, but his first innings bowling was really good. And I think Bryden Cass, you know, a lot's been said about Cass, and I am a bit of a more of a Cass fan, I think, than others are. Um, and I think he is a bowler in these conditions. You kind of want. that kind of mentality that he'll just keep going and keep trying. Whether his skills are good enough, I don't know, but he got another 5 wickets in this game and at times looked better, but at times bowling short and wide and erratic, which isn't giving you any control in a series where Australia have shown that control is pivotal, really. Um, but the bad stuff, which there's a few bits, um, letting games slip again. It's the kind of passage of play of the entire series, really. There's been moments where you think that England should be on top or are playing really well and just have to seize them and grab them, you know? Um, and unfortunately, I think a lot of this comes down, actually, I'd say, to Harry Brook, which feels really bad to kind of single someone out, but he, fielding wise, dropped Quadra when he was on five, ends up getting 82. Um, drops Travis Head in the second innings on 99. He ends up making 170. Um, batting in that second innings, I think at a crucial time, I've seen a lot of people say like, "Oh, but he plays it well." They'd played it well, weren't going to win the game anyway. But he plays that switch hit in the second innings, which is that a shot you have to play at that stage? I know I mentioned Jamie Smith playing a poor shot, but I can understand Jamie Smith's shot more in a scenario on day five where you're still needing to score 150 runs with only 4 wickets in hand, and that is one of Jamie Smith's scoring shots. Maybe I'm sounding like a cheerleader for Stokes here, but I have more sympathy for Jamie Smith playing that shot in the scenario where runs are starting to flow. He's just scored 2 boundaries, confidence is up. Let's grab the momentum, and that ball wasn't there to hit in that way for Jamie Smith. But I think he did a pretty good effort with not much to do. Maybe I'm being overly kind to that dismissal. But I don't have as many issues with that than I do the Harry Brook one. Because I feel in that scenario where you've only got an hour left of play, you're only three down, 177 for three. If you finish day four, I mean, I did a post about this which blew up on on the old social medias. If you finish day four on, I don't know, 210 for three, only needing just over 200 to win with 7 wickets in hand on the pitch that, as we saw on day five, isn't doing a lot. So I really think there was an argument to say, in a way that kind of Jackson Smith ended up doing, shut up shop. You've got 1 hour. You've managed to see offline for that first opening spell. He bowls 10 overs, none for 53 or something like that. He played them really well. You're good enough players. You can see out the last 14, 12 overs. There's still easy runs on offer. Just take the odd few singles, keep on rotating strike. Just don't give them a sniff. And to play that shot, which was so obviously premeditated, and he plays a reverse really well. When I think he picks it more. With this ball, he's like, I'm going to switch it without seeing where the ball was. It was the wrong line, didn't get anywhere near it. And then that just completely blew the game wide open. Stokes then is then exposed to Lyon with not much left in the game that day, and then Crawley as well, with the pressure building of a couple of quick wickets. So I really think I hate to single players out, but I think Brook has been culpable for I think probably some match defining moments in all three tests, and that's not really the legacy you really want. I guess if your first tour of Australia is that some of the decisions you made have very much impacted the Ashes as a whole, and I think he has, and I think that's a real concern. He played a lot better in his test. I think he was a lot more reined in, but then he then goes ahead and play a shot like that. There was a shot earlier in the innings as well where he tries to scoop Boland, and it's like, what are we doing? Like, you've had a lot better cricket being played by some England batters like Stokes and Crawley, and a lot more, not necessarily conservative, but are playing in a way that is sensible. And then we're still doing that, and but yeah, maybe it's wrong of me to really single out Brook, and I'm not singling out Smith for that shot, but for me, that kind of moment was defining, and obviously those drops as well, which when you look at the margin of the game, that completely changes the game as well. So yeah, England just, I think it's, McCullum and Stokes have mentioned it as well, completely outplayed in batting, bowling, and fielding. It's all just the same. It's all everything together is bad. Um, it's in terms of other stuff. I mean, Ollie Pope is, you know, not going to play in the MCG, is he? If he plays the MCG, then I just don't understand what the point is and just completely ruined this guy's confidence. He got three in the first innings, playing an absolutely atrocious shot. Like, that's the shot of someone who's completely scrambled and doesn't know, you know, to attack or defend, or maybe that's some bad messaging from McCullum and Stokes, but you got to feel for Pope, I think, in that scenario that I just don't think he should have played this game. I think his head is just completely gone. Second innings, absolute worldie catch from Marnus, but I think people are forgetting the 17 runs before that. I think he played one nice shot, but then edged a few through slips and stuff, and just looks completely frazzled. So I think it's only fair to just give him a break. I'm not saying that Bethel's going to go in and can do any better, but you've lost a series, so it doesn't matter, does it? Seeing talk about Jack's batting three, I just it's what it just feels nonsense. So yeah, that will be Pope gone. Duckett is another player who's just completely at sea. I think I mentioned this before the series began, but he's been out of form since the end of that India series. Just I don't know whether it's too much cricket or players have found him out, but a higher score of 29 in the series is just not going to win you many games, is it? Um, so yeah, it's all doom and gloom. Um, so where do they go from here? I guess that's the question that I guess we're talking about. So I asked where do we go from here, as if Jamie's going to answer, but I'm still by myself. This is a lot of talking. It's I'll talk about this more with Jamie in the next pod, I guess, but it's a big old mess, and it just always is in Australia. But I don't. It depends how the last two games go, I suppose. But I don't know whether England do throw everything out with the bathwater at the end of this series, or McCullum does stay and they try and build further. I've said before and numerous times, I'm not really sure Stoke stays after this series, regardless of what happens. But there's going to be so many questions. McCullum's now speaking about how maybe they were wrong with their preparation when I think every single person could have told them that. Um, and you got their trip to Noosa, which on the record I really don't care about, but you got it now being labelled as like a stag holiday and stag do, just sort of day drinking for days, which I don't really care about, but I understand why people and the optics of stuff of it is going to be harming to them and annoying to people, but I don't really care. But preparation wise, I feel as though you've got to look at their overall planning for the series to say that you're building towards the series when Key takes over and you're looking for just pace, and it's so evident that pace isn't the be all and end all now in Australia. Picking attacks that haven't played together, picking a spin bowler and not seeing through until that's ended to get to the series where it matters. Retaining someone like Ollie Pope for so long when you can see the technical issues that are there and the issues he has against Australia and against Australia. There's just so many questions, so many issues, and throwing Jackson at the last second, he's not played for Test cricket in years. It's just, I'm rambling, but we're just at the kind of same old Ashes narrative that we get every time. And I don't really know if changing the captain, changing this coach is going to make the same difference in 4 years. I mean, it probably would. I'm just, I'm just in self therapy, talking to myself. I don't know. You could look at someone. Could you bring in someone like a Langer, and would he really iron out those kind of issues? And someone like Harry Brook, maybe. Would there be more accountability for people's wickets? Maybe. But would you then lose players to franchise cricket if suddenly, Test cricket's too hard, too much stress? I'll go earn, hundreds of thousands of pounds playing just franchise cricket, which I think is an issue. I wouldn't be surprised if that is a factor in just having this kind of environment of happy pals. So I don't know, but I think short term, I think long term we'll discuss at the end of the series. Short term, MCG, Ashes is gone. Misery, misery, misery. Um, for changes for England, I mean, Bethel probably, I'd say Bethel has to come in for Pope. Bowling, you can freshen it up. I think it's probably Archer's played three tests in the bounce. He's been our best bowler, but do you really want to injure him now? It's a bit of a dead rubber. Maybe play him at Sydney, but see how he holds up. I'd be surprised if Archer plays. So you probably bring Atkinson back in. Tongue obviously still plays, and maybe Potts for Cast just to freshen it up. I don't think Bashir plays. I mean, if you're not going to play Bashir in Adelaide, you're just saying we don't think you're good enough, which is just depressing. It reminds me a lot of Stephen Finn in the 13-14 Ashes where he was told he was unselectable. Because that's what Bashir is now. He's unselectable. You can't now turn to him when the series has gone and say this is why we picked him, where you've not played him in the most spin friendly wicket in the series. So I'll be surprised if Bashir plays. So I imagine it'll be pretty much the same, but just a couple of bowling changes with Bethel coming in. And you've got to remember that England haven't picked any other reserves. Before this game, I would have questions about Smith, but I feel as though that 60 is hopefully going to give him a bit of confidence. He batted really well for that 60 before that wicket by unsurprisingly giving himself time and then going at it. And I think Jax has done pretty well with the bat again in that second innings of 47, but he's not a number three. He's no way a number three. But there are some big questions. I mean, I don't really think it matters that much, like two dead rubbers. So I feel a bit for the fans who are going out there for the last two games because what's the point? But I think career's on the line. I think Crawley hasn't done himself any harm at all. If he finishes the series well with hopefully a bigger score than just a 50, then I think potentially he's still one for the future. Duckett is concerning. He needs some runs. Root, bar that, brilliant 100 in the pink ball test, but I think this is a game where you really need him to stand up, and he got out quite softly. I think in that second innings, Brook, we've spoken about this series is defined around Harry Brook at the moment, which is an issue. Just really needs to showcase the talent that he is. But again, showcasing now when the series have gone, it just feels like playing individually for careers, which is not where you want to be at, but we're out there anyway. So I've kind of rambled around in circles to myself. So if you have listened to that, thank you very much. Where do you think it can go from here? I put on my it's my show now. I put on our socials where who do we think should be the next spinner for England? If you want to get involved in that discussion, do get involved. We had 90 responses, so I could have just done the whole podcast reading out those. But England have had quite a big discard pile for spin bowling. From Leach, Bashir, obviously, Dawson, Rayan Ahmed, Tom Hartley. They've tried a lot and then ended up picking Jacks. I know in a series where spin doesn't matter that much, but it just says all you need to know about their kind of thoughts on spin. So I guess if you're listening to this, thank you. I would ask if you want to leave in the comments or reply to us on socials. Who do you think England's next spinner should be? Should they go back to someone like Leach just as a stopgap because he's 35, 34 now? Rayan Ahmed, and you trust in something a bit different? Do you trust in Bashir still? I highly doubt it that they will now. Tom Hartley, I think, is a decent shout because he bats well and got that high release point. Other options, Archie Vaughan, Farhan Ahmed, who's a very, very young pick and potentially is more down the line, but who knows? Carson, I think, is Sussex. So yeah, we'll see how it goes and see where they decide. But very, very much, I think, a pivotal point for future England planning is identifying a spinner and sticking with a spinner. So we'll see how that goes. But there's going to be a lot of questions, isn't there? It's the end of the Ashes, and it's going to be wheels are off. But yeah, thank you if you wanted to listen to this and you wanted to. You've listened to it. I'm not doing another solo one, Jamie. Please help me next time. Um, Thank you for listening if you had. It's almost holidays, so Merry Christmas if you celebrate Christmas and Happy Holidays if you don't. Um, Hopefully Jamie's feeling better by next time. I feel like I'm also coming down with a classic Christmas cold, but maybe I just got ill from having to get up and watch all this nonsense. If you want to follow us on our socials, it's all at Just Not Crick Pod. We'll be back to review. I say we, I hope we will be back to review the MCG test, where we'll see if Australia can go 4-0 up or England can try and consolidate a win, which I very much doubt. Um, but yeah, maybe this was a lot of just whining pod, a lot of whining pom pod. Maybe that'll be the new episode title. But appreciate if you have listened to it. When we'll see you after the Boxing Day test. And enjoy your holidays and enjoy not having to get up and watch this nonsense for a few days. All right. Cheers.